The Carolina Panthers running back D'Onta Foreman was having a decent season until things got heated between him and Marcus Davenport. The two exchanged punches on the field, which ended up getting both ejected in the third quarter. In this video, we'll be looking at what happened, the aftermath, and much more. Oh, and after that, we've made a list of the top 5 most violent accidents that occurred on the field. So let's not waste any more time and just get right into it. First off, let's look at what exactly happened. The NFL, as we all know, is one of the most aggressive sports in the world. Players are lined up across from each other and quite literally beat each other for the whole game. And to be honest, this is what makes the NFL fun and entertaining to watch. But, well, sometimes things can get a bit out of hand. The two teams faced each other on the 9th of January. The incident, the brawl, or whatever you want to call it, occurred moments after Davenport chased Foreman down and tackled him from behind in the 6th play of the third quarter. After that, the pair had a heated exchange in which they probably said things that we wouldn't be able to say in this video. Moving on, when the Panthers tight end Ian Thomas tried to stop them, well, let's just say things got even worse. Davenport reached around and hit Foreman with his left hand on the right side of his helmet. Adding to the feud, Foreman responded by jumping on Davenport and punching him right in the middle of his face mask with his right hand. Given how good the build quality of those helmets is, they were surely doing some damage to themselves with those punches, right? Moving on, what's the aftermath? After the fight, both fifth-year players were blamed for unsportsmanlike conduct, rightfully so, and their ejections forced them to miss the rest of the Panthers' comeback win, which left both teams with 7-10 records. If you're not an avid NFL fan, this basically means that the Saints lost their advantage over the Panthers in the NFL. Honestly, Davenport must have been even more furious at this, given that he might as well have been the reason the team lost. As a matter of fact, it seems to be true because Davenport left the locker room quickly after the game and did not speak to any reporter. Oh, and by the way, this was the second time a Saints defensive player was ejected during a home game. The last was when Marshon Lattimore was ejected from a Week 2 loss to Tampa Bay after shoving the running back Leonard Fournette. This scuffle began when Lattimore and Tom Brady yelled at one another after an incomplete pass. Yep, that's all it takes to start a brawl in the NFL. No wonder people become glued to the screen as soon as the match starts. The two faced no other punishment. They weren't fined or suspended. With that said, next up is a list of the 5 most violent fights in the NFL where fights got so fierce that simple ejections weren't enough. So make sure to stick around to the end for that. First up at number 5, we have Evans and Lattimore. The Saints have a knack for losing their cool on the field. Their cornerback Marshon Lattimore and Mike Evans have been rivals for many years. This is because both their teams are often matched up against each other in division rivals, and well, it seems that gave the two enough reason to hate each other. The two have a reputation as trash talkers, but things escalated to more than just words in the second week of the NFL 2022 season. Fitting with his reputation, Lattimore got into a verbal argument with Tom Brady, and, well, that didn't sit right with the Tampa Bay wide receiver. Evans came running off the sidelines and plummeted Lattimore to the ground. Well, in retrospect, Lattimore was arguing with the GOAT, so one should expect to be speared by the horns, which in this case was Evans. Now that's a loyal teammate. Both teams erupted into a brawl, ending with Evans and Lattimore getting ejected from the game. However, Evans received a further punishment as he received a 1-game ban for starting the whole attack. But, well, we doubt that Evans regretted that because he was defending Tom Brady. Who could regret doing that? Moving on to number 4, let's look at the Deion Sanders and Andre Rison incident. Having a stellar career and being inducted into the Hall of Fame, there's no doubt that Deion Sanders is one of the greats of the game. However, Deion has also made it onto our list, and most of you probably don't even remember the incident at all. Cornerback Sanders and wide receiver Rison used to be teammates in their Atlanta Falcon days, but apparently not good ones. Clearly, given that we're mentioning a fight between them as one of the most violent ones in NFL history, but anyways, they played against each other for the first time in 1994, with Sanders now representing the San Francisco 49ers. Sanders has a pretty impressive game, and his new side was humiliating the Falcons. The final scoreline was 42-3, which was too much for Sanders' former teammate. Rison probably felt betrayed, and he wasn't going to hide it. At the beginning of a play, the wide receiver attacked Sanders and shoved him away. Maybe it's with the position of wide receivers. There's something about it that makes the players want to attack each other. Who knows? Sanders didn't hold back, though. The two former teammates ended up trading punches and just got into a raw fistfight. Oh, and they had no plans of stopping. It was only after they were forcefully separated that the punches stopped. Next up at number 3 is Joey Porter versus William Green. The Pittsburgh Steelers have had this reputation of having an iron wall-like defense. They represent this attitude and culture of physical dominance on the ball, so it's no surprise that one of their players is on this list. Their masculine and aggressive reputation has been carved in stone in the NFL. Their linebacker, Joey Porter, was one of the players who best represented this reputation. It's like he's the physical embodiment of this fierce, tough dude that pops up in your head when you hear about the Steelers. Thus, Porter was one of the most feared linebackers in the NFL. But to some, this was all a gimmick. In 2004, the Cleveland Browns running back William Green was one of these players who wasn't intimidated by Porter at all. Green got into a verbal fight with Porter before the game even started. Now that's called foreshadowing. Moving on, the two brought this heat to the game, and it was only a short time before things turned physical. Porter spat in Green's face, and everything went downhill. The two got into a fist fight, launching punches at each other, and like all fist fights in the NFL, this also ended up with both players being ejected from the game. The NFL needs to do something other than just eject the two players because this doesn't seem to be working. But hey, at least it's entertaining for us. Following up at number 2, we have Andre Johnson and Cortland Finnegan. Yep, another wide receiver on the list. You might be surprised to see Johnson on the list. The Houston Texan is regarded as one of the most excellent wide receivers of his time, and he also has a pretty good reputation when it comes to sportsmanship, and was regarded as the quiet one on the team. But it seems like everyone has their bizarre moments. In 2010, the Houston Texans played against their division rivals, the Tennessee Titans. At the time, the Titans' cornerback, Finnegan, has a trash-talking reputation. Some even said he was a dirty player. This was obviously the complete opposite of what Johnson was, and when the two met, well, it was fireworks. Finnegan matched up against Jordan for most of the game and played with his usual style of getting under the opponent's skin, and there was only so much that Johnson could take. In the fourth quarter, Johnson snapped. He and Finnegan went at each other and wrestled at the start of the play. Johnson landed several punches on the cornerback, and the fans saw an ugly side of Johnson that many weren't sure even existed. Both players, as usual, were ejected. Johnson, being the gentleman that we knew him as, issued an apology after the game. On the other hand, Finnegan stayed true to his rebellious nature and chose not to do the same. There's a reason why Johnson is regarded as one of the greats, and why most of you will probably be hearing about Finnegan for the first time. Finally, topping our list as the most brutal fight, now we have our final and most brutal fight of the video. Props to you for making it so far. Okay, so we have another fight between a Cleveland and Pittsburgh player, but this didn't even come close to the previous one. Oh, and none of the players is a wide receiver this time. Odd, right? In the 2019 NFL season, the Browns defensive end Myles Garrett and Steelers quarterback Mason Rudolph found themselves in an all-out brawl that is regarded as one of the most epic fights in the NFL. How did it start? Garrett swore Rudolph used a racial slur against him, which Rudolph obviously denied. Garrett was furious and knew what he had heard. In the heat of the moment, Garrett ripped off Rudolph's helmet and used it to hit him on the head. Kind of like what Zidane did. He sadly ended up losing a final, and he used his actual head. This breakdown caused a frenzy all over the web, with people losing their minds over what had just happened. Even the NFL thought that an ejection wouldn't cut it this time, and thus ended up suspending Garrett for the rest of the game. But isn't it unfair that Rudolph didn't face any punishment? He must have said something, because Garrett wouldn't have been this furious over anything small. What do you think? That's a wrap for this video. What's your take on the whole drama, and which brawl was your favorite? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this one. See you at the next one.